latest release from Harlequin Love Inspired, the Cowboy Surprise Baby. We're so happy to announce that we are giving away a copy on BookTrib, so please stop by after the chat and enter to win. And before we get to our questions, Deb, can you fill us in on the Cowboy Surprise Baby and get us a little up to speed on what's happening?
Yeah, sure. In the Cowboy Surprise Baby, it actually starts off with the hero Cole getting the surprise of his life. He had a one-night stand, which was against his morality, but there was a series of circumstances that led up to that. And anyway, so he ended up being a single father to his little baby. So he had been in the Navy, and he decided the best thing in terms of raising a child would be to go back to Serendipity, Texas, which is his hometown, so his family can help. He doesn't expect to meet his old high school flame, and they end up working together at Redemption Ranch, which is a place for troubled teenagers. He thought he was going to be a wrangler, ends up being more of a mentor, and with the heroine Tessa, they end up helping a pregnant teen, and through the process learn more about how their love has matured, how they matured as people, and therefore their relationship became what it needed to be.
Fantastic. So it's a lovely home reunion. So I was curious to know, when you started writing your Cowboy Country series, did you plan out the story in advance, or was it a kind of writing by the seat of your pants type of deal? Like, what's your style?
I actually started out with an idea for 3 books with exploring the ideas of single fathers, because single mothers have been done a lot. But there's something just really neat about looking at single fathers, especially cowboys, because they're rough and tough. And, you know, they got that sensitive side inside that they hide. But it was just the idea of what would happen if a man steps up and takes care of their children.
A very cool twist. And you're part of the Harlequin series program theme, Whatever You're Into, which is, you know, kind of a mishmash of whatever people might be into, like what type of themes. So what type of hero are you most into? Would it be a cowboy? Is it something different?
Oh, clearly cowboys. Yeah, I almost always write cowboys. I just think they're so rugged, and there's, you know, risk takers. They're the alpha guys, but at the same time, they have traditional values. They know how to treat women, and they look great in jeans. So yeah,
they do. Absolutely. And so you write for Love Inspired. This is a Love Inspired series. What's your experience from like writing for Love Inspired?
I actually started writing for Love Inspired almost at the very beginning. I love being able to do that. Just because I'm able to express my faith within the characters. I don't preach. I don't like to throw Bible verses in or anything else. I just like to be able to write with my characters having their faith and religion as part of their lives.
Yeah, absolutely. And another big part of your stories that I loved is the horses, you know, the names of the horses. Can you tell us about the horses in your stories and your kind of lifelong love for them?
Oh, yes. Horses are... I started loving horses the first time I ever went to my grandfather's ranch and met a horse live. I lived in the suburbs growing up, and so horses weren't really a thing I could do. So being the introvert I was, I read about them every, you know, Misty of Chincoteague, Black Beauty. I read the how-to books, you know, how to take care of a horse, whatever. Bugged my mother to death. Let's get a horse, let's get a horse. Never did. My younger sister continued that get a horse thing, and she did. She got her horse, and she ended up in Western Airs, which is yep. She warmed down. She got her horse. She ended up in Western Airs, which is a riding club that's internationally known. They do all kinds of really interesting things, and then now she runs a horse sanctuary. So I just have the opportunity to be with horses, and I have my go-to person whenever I have any questions. So
yeah, and you know a lot about them, so it's like you don't even need to research. I wouldn't know, like, like things they do, what you would do to help a horse when it's sick, so it's always interesting to kind of read about that with someone who knows it. Now, readers love the surprise baby motif a lot. Like, I think that's one of the most popular Harlequin themes along with Cowboys, so people love surprise babies. So why do you think that that's such a well-received motif?
I think because it's so unexpected, your entire life changes when that baby shows up. And especially I think with men, you have to mature so fast. And of course, anytime you've got a baby, add a baby to it, there's conflict, instant conflict. So.
Yeah, and Cole Bishop does a lot of growing up in the book. I mean, the baby makes him grow up. What was it like writing his character? Was it easy? Was it kind of difficult? Or did you see him really clearly?
I always start with my characters when I'm writing, so I had a very clear vision of Cole. So he was so guilt-ridden at the beginning of the book, and he had to work through that. And it was really interesting for me to watch his character arc as he realized that broken people can still help other broken people, because we all are. So.
Exactly.
And that he actually could help other people, because he really thought he'd crossed that line where he wasn't going to be useful to anybody.
Mm-hmm. And then we have Tessa, who he, reunites with. If you could just describe her in 5 words, this is tough, which words would you choose to describe her? What do you think, what just stands out to you?
Let's see. She is compassionate. Mm-hmm. She is very friendly. Mm-hmm. She is smart. She is what's the word I want? That's hard to get into words. Right. Intuitive, especially where it comes to her teenagers. And did I say outgoing? She's very outgoing.
Yeah. Now, in terms of your writing process, what is that like? Do you need coffee in the morning to amp you up? Do you listen to music to set the pace of the story? Do you work like at night? Can you tell us a little bit about the behind the scenes when you're working on something?
Sure. Coffee is definitely morning coffee as well. Afternoon coffee too. I'm definitely a coffee drinker. Drink it black. From Colorado, everyone drinks black. I don't have to. So not really Starbucks or anything. I just have my home coffee maker that keeps me going. I usually try to write in and out when I can during the days, depending on whether my grandkids are around. And then when it gets closer to deadline time, I usually spend my evenings writing too, where it's really quiet. So.
Yeah, absolutely. And it must be tough with the grandkids around. Tough meaning impossible.
Wouldn't change it though.
No, exactly. So when you're not writing, what are some of your favorite things to do when you have that rare off time?
I love to go horseback riding when I have the opportunity, which is great because my sister owns a bunch of horses. I sing in the choir, in the church choir, which is my happy place. I am an avid Texas Tenors fan. They were on America's Got Talent a few years ago, and they have developed quite the little fan club. So we usually do stuff with them, with the Texas Tenors, with our little fan club, at least once a year, twice a year. So that's kind of fun. I love attending musicals for late night. Yep. So.
You have a lot of interests. So, how many books do you work on in a year? Is it a really tight schedule?
I usually do 3 a year, and then sometimes they come out with a 2-for-1 classic of some of my older titles. So it's pretty tight.
Definitely. Now, do your family members read your books? Do they ever offer you feedback after they read them, or do they kind of?
You know, at the very beginning, my husband would read them before I sent them out. But somewhere along the way, he waits till they're they come in the mail, and then he reads all of them, and he actually admits it to other people that he reads all of them. My kids, not so much. They're just too busy to read. However, they do give my books away to their friends who are readers, and that seems to go over well.
Mm-hmm. Did your husband give you feedback when you were showing him like the edits and stuff?
He used to. He's actually more of my go-to person when I'm stuck on a plot thing, because I'm really character-oriented, and sometimes I get really stuck, like, what am I going to do here? And he can come up with some solutions that I can.
That's fantastic. Teamwork.
Yeah.
Now, when you see reviews of your work, do you generally like to read them? Do you kind of avoid them? Is it something that you like to kind of get input from? Everyone has a varied response for this question.
Yeah, I admit I read them. I probably shouldn't. I try not to do it right before I have something important to do. I don't. I've learned over the years not to, be knocked over by a really bad review or something. But I can't help it. I do. I peek.
No, how could you not? I'd be like, oh my god, it's my book. It's crazy. Now, what's the most touching response that you've ever received from a fan that you can remember?
Oh, there have been so many. How often I've cried when I've gotten a fan letter. I had a great-grandfather that said his book made me cry, which just the thought of a great-grandfather reading my book made me. And I get a lot of mail from young people, young adults, and that always makes me happy that they're reading, for one thing, and that they have gotten something. I received a letter once from a woman in Nigeria who had a friend that was in a specific emotional situation, and the book that she had somehow gotten of mine was exactly that topic, that theme, and she was able to give that to her friend, and it really helped her friend. So that was just neat, because I don't know how my book even got to Nigeria, so it's amazing how God uses it. And when I think about my books going out there, I think about it as going out to individuals, that God will touch an individual heart. However, and the writing, it might not be what I intended as a theme or whatever when I was writing it. It might be something completely different. So
yeah, wow, that's fantastic. Now, in terms of just new things that you're doing and working on, do you have any events, conferences coming up in the future? Anything that we should know about?
The only conference I've got coming up is ACFW in the middle of September. That's American Christian Fiction Writers. There's not a book signing that goes with that, but it's. I try to get to at least one conference a year, writers always learn new things, so
Oh, absolutely.
Got to get out there.
Oh yeah, you meet so many new people and see old faces. It's great. And we have a question about just a fan casting question. Do you see Cole Bishop and Tessa Applewhite as anyone in Hollywood if you could fan cast them in a movie? Is there anyone that kind of sticks out in your mind? Today or old Hollywood?
Yeah, I would cast Cole as Bradley Cooper, if I could, and then Tessa would be Cassidy Freeman.
Oh, yeah.
So, yeah.
It's a fantastic one. Now, I know that you are tuning in from Colorado. Do you ever write stories set in your home state of Colorado? Do you find that to be an inspiration?
I actually do my November novella that's coming out. It's set in Colorado. 11 books ago, I started Serendipity, Texas. It's a made-up town with the idea of doing 3 books. It was a little mini-series of 3 books. And then this town just grew, its secondary characters grew, and everybody loved them, and so I did another series there, and then another series, and it's just grown to where I think I'll be in Serendipity forever.
Yeah. Do you have stuff planned out?
I'm sorry?
Do you have stuff planned out for the series, or?
I'm for 6 more cowboy country books.
That's amazing.
Yeah.
So do you have like titles set up for
I used to do titles, but Harlequin kind of picks their own titles. The category books have kind of interesting titles. So in my mind, my book is just Cole and Tessa. And then when the time comes, they'll ask me for a list of titles. I'll try to look at some other category titles and put things together, rearrange things, and ultimately, though, the editors come up with the titles. So.
Great. Now, other genres. For those who don't know your work, have you done anything else besides the cowboy western romance?
Yeah, I've done a few military romances. I've done a couple of like downtown Denver romances. Yeah, I guess as I went along, I eventually kind of honed in on the cowboy theme.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, absolutely. And Serendipity is a great name. How did that pop up? Did you pick that? Did it kind of just come?
Yeah, it came out of nowhere. I wanted a Texas town, and it just popped into my head, and I just felt like it was just right, serendipitous.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah, it was just right for it. Yeah.
No, I love the cover. It's such soft colors, and it's really pleasant to look at. Do you have any say in the covers?
Yes and no. At Harlequin, we fill out pretty extensive art fact sheets talking about what the characters look like, how old they are, and then we give 3 different suggestions on what we think the cover might look like, 2 with people and then 1 with a landscape. And then we also provide pictures of like actors and actresses or even people out of a catalog or whatever, so that the art department can kind of see what we're thinking of.
Yeah. Yeah, I could see a Bradley Cooper in this guy, for sure. Have you met the cover models of any of the books? I know they go to conferences.
Oh, I wish, no. I haven't. I'd like to.
Yeah, maybe someday, you never know. So in terms of kind of the experiences that you've had so far as a published author, what are some of the best experiences that pop up in your mind?
One thing that I love is the advent of social media, because I've been able to talk to people that read my books, which, back a ways, people couldn't do that. They could write a fan letter on paper, but it wasn't the same thing at all. Now I can talk to people, message them, whatever, and I just love that. So
yeah, it's amazing. Yeah. Where can we find you on social media if someone wanted to reach out and just say hi?
Basically, my Facebook is Deb Kastner. That up, and then so same with Twitter. It's not Deb Kastner. So
yeah. Now, for other writers in the same genre that are trying to break into the series market, do you have any advice for them?
I do. Read that series. Especially, exactly what, like if Love Inspired, it's got 3 lines, the contemporary, the suspense, and the historical. Pick your line and then just read like crazy, because you'll start to feel I don't want to say formula, but there's just, it's got a certain feel to it.
Yeah.
And, and it'll help you, if you dissect a few books and try to figure out, why do you like this author?
Yeah.
That's the best thing you can do is just read really heavily in the line you want to.
You need to read in order to
and
write.
Sometimes they even, I'll thank my editor. So then you can see, oh, that's my editor. So if I was the author that, you liked, then you might think about trying to query that particular editor.
Mm-hmm. Oh yeah, that's a great idea. That's a practical piece of advice that I don't think I've heard yet. So in terms of just collaborating with other authors, have you done any collaborations? Are there any authors that you would love to work with in the future?
I have, actually. My next book is it's an anthology of 2 novellas with Arlene James, and it's a Christmas anthology. So that was really fun. We did brothers. They're brothers. And then after that, I'm a part of the 6-book continuity for Harlequin Love Inspired, where basically the story and the characters are made up by the editors, and then they give it to these 6 different authors, and we each write one of the books. And it covers a story, so we have 6 love stories, but it's one overarching story.
Yeah.
So that's been great fun to be able to take part.
Do you email with the other authors, call them on the phone, or are you like talking late night, or?
Most of it did it through email, but yeah, there was tons of email, especially at the beginning when we were trying to work out all the particular details.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
Now, in terms of, just inspiration based around cowboys and westerns and stuff, we have a question from Beth. She says, are you a fan of TV shows and movies based around cowboys, and do they ever inspire new books for you? So is there anything on TV right now that you are really into?
Yes, I just seriously Netflix binged Heartland. It's a Canadian show, but oh my goodness, horses. It was so, that I love that one. Longmire, he is a super awesome cowboy with a really deep, his backstory and his conflicts just are always interesting to me. I used to watch a show called, it was actually based on the Magnificent Seven movie, but it was a TV show that was on for a couple of years, and that was Western, but it was really fun.
Mm-hmm. Awesome. There's so much out there that there's no time to watch everything.
Oh no. Netflix is fun though.
I know. I binge watch, a series, and my parents don't really watch Netflix. I don't know if they get the binging thing, but they're like, aren't you sick of this series? Don't you want to switch? And I'm like, nope, I'm going all the way through.
Yeah.
So do you have any book recommendations that you're currently reading or that you want to read for a great summer read?
A summer read? Oh my goodness. I tend to read outside my genre for fun. So, yeah, I read like Regency,
Cool.
Julia Quinn, and Tessa, the historic stuff, and Sharon Sala for suspense.
Mm-hmm. Excellent. Oh, so Jennifer Stevens just said my favorite Western was The Lone Ranger. People are getting excited. Thanks, Jennifer. We have some people popping in. Chase has an interesting question. Considering your personality, if you were a genre, which would you be?
First thing that popped in my head was horror, but romance. Really romance. That's I'm my husband, my family. That's pretty much everything to me. So I kind of live a love-inspired life.
Yeah. What's like the overall message that you want people to take away when they finish your books?
I just want them to enjoy the story, but I hope that that readers take away that there is hope and love and goodness in the world.
Yeah.
And that bad things can be overcome.
Yeah, absolutely. Jennifer said, I enjoy all genres as long as they are Christian-based. Well, you came to the right place. Thanks again, Jennifer. Is that her wedding picture? There's a picture of her in her wedding dress. Looks nice. So, Chase wants to know, what's the most difficult part about writing a book?
For me, it is the plotting before the story, which, they have a big hamster, which means you just go write the book, or plotting, which some people do pages and outlines and everything else. And I used to just write the book before I got published, but now I sell on proposal, which is a synopsis. So I have to know what's going on. And romance is easy. You start out with lots of conflict and you end with happily ever after. So You got the beginning and the end, and I always know immediately what the meeting scene is. And conflict doesn't give me too much trouble, but actually putting it into a synopsis with all the different scenes or whatever from especially like the middle, it's kind of usually kind of vague to me. So having to learn how to do that, I'm still learning how to do that. But yeah, that's probably the hardest part for me.
It's interesting that you know the meeting scene and you kind of work around that. That's an interesting approach to it. I like that. We have an interesting question from Beth. She says, when you're on deadline and writing, do you have special clothes you have to wear that you deem lucky and do your best writing in?
No, I don't have special clothes. I do have special music. I just, Texas Tenors go, and I really try not to binge on them unless I'm on deadline, because it really just puts it in my head. It's time to go. It's time to get this book finished. So.
Right, exactly. And Jennifer has a question. She says, what's some fun info that you've come across during your research, Deb?
Oh my goodness, there's all kinds of things. I don't know if it's fun, but I learned a lot about wild horse rescues in the book I just finished for the next summer. So I learned really some very sad things about how they're being rounded up and yeah. So sometimes it's fun, sometimes not so much. But I've learned so much just because every detail really needs to be backed up by facts. So
yeah, absolutely. And you write, this is a Texas town. Did you have to do any research on Texas, or do you just know the area well enough to kind of go on with that?
I do research, especially weather-oriented stuff. Also, what flowers are growing when, and what trees they have, that sort of thing. And I also have lots of writing friends in Texas, so if I ever come up with a problem I can't find on the internet, I can always send an email. So
that's fantastic that you put that much detail into it. It's really amazing. For anyone who's just tuning in, we're talking about the Cowboy Surprise Baby with Deb Kastner. We have another question from Chase, which we kind of touched on about the series that you're doing, but is there anyone else that you'd like to co-author with on just one book? And what do you think you'd write about? Anyone else you can think of?
That'd be good. I would love to co-author with Mindy Obenhouse. She's a relatively new author. And the funny thing is, she lives in Texas. I live in Colorado. She writes about Colorado. I write in Texas. But she and I get along, our personalities, and I think putting together a book, an anthology, might be really interesting and fun to do with her.
That'd be amazing. Have you done a lot of anthologies and short story collections, or is it something you
I have not. Actually, my first novella is the one coming out in November. It was really fun. I wasn't sure I'd be able to write a novella, and it actually turned out to be a great experience.
Did you find it more difficult, or was it easier capping it off at a certain length?
It was easier. I thought it was going to be more difficult, but it was easier.
Yeah. Awesome. So that's something great we have to look forward to, coming out in wintertime. And for anyone who's just tuning in, can you tell us a little bit more about what you're working on next after the Cowboy Surprise Baby?
Okay. Well, this is the book that's coming out in. Let's see it. This is my November book with Arlene James. And those are the that's the smaller. The novellas, and then I have the continuity, part of the continuity on book 5, and it comes out in February, and then I will be back to the Cowboy Country books in the summer.
Awesome.
Next year.
And we can't wait for the next round. Jennifer Stevens just said, "How do you ladies look so nice on camera?" She's a hoot. She's so funny.
How sweet.
I use moisturizer with toner, like a toner moisturizer. That's what I do. Get that glow. That's my only secret I'm divulging today. But we've come to the end of our questions, and I just wanted to thank you again for joining us today. It was great to talk with you.
It's nice being here.
Yeah, and we are giving away a copy of The Cowboy Surprise Baby on BookTrib.com, so don't miss out on this, guys. And thanks again for everyone for joining in.
Thank you.
Thank you, Deb.